Good evening. Whoa, that's loud. Hey, good evening, everybody. If everybody could just get in and start finding your seats. It's 6 o'clock, and that's what time we have our introduction set for. My name's Adam Schellenbarger. I'm the preacher here at Joppatown Christian Church. I want to welcome you all to our building, but I'm also the president of the Joppa Development and Heritage Corporation, at least until I can find somebody else to be the president of the Joppa Development and Heritage Corporation. I did this in the first forum. Welcome back to those of you who were at the first forum, but I'm going to do this again just because I feel it's important. Despite the fact that I am a preacher, I am a firm believer in the separation of church and state. So we're not going to try to shove any religion down your throat or anything like that. I think it's very important that everybody gets to come out here and have learn more and make an informed opinion before you vote, and that's what we're trying to do both as the church, but specifically tonight as the Joppa Development and Heritage Corporation. If you have any questions about the other stuff, I'm happy to answer them. I will answer them, just not on the clock right now. Before we get started, last time I didn't do this and I regretted it as soon as we got offline, so I'm going to do it right now. I just want to say thank you to everybody who's here from the corporation, who's put in a lot of work to bring snacks and water. Marianne and Barbara and Gloria, who's greeting people right now, looking out for candidates as we speak. Angie, who's back there doing her Angie thing, and then especially for the people in the back who are making the live stream happen, Bill, who's running the camera, my wife Rachel, who's running our slides, and Vincent, who's running our soundboard. I really appreciate it, so thank you very much. We have a couple of things that are coming up, just so everybody who's here or online is aware. We have some future meetings that are coming up. On Monday, this coming Monday, at the Southern Precinct of the Harford County Sheriff's Office in Edgewood is the Joppa/Joppatown Community Advisory Board meeting. That's where county officials will come down and talk with us, or different issues in our community will be discussed. That's the closest thing we have to a town hall, and that's going to be at 7 o'clock on Monday. You're all welcome to come to that. And then the following Monday, downstairs in the lower part of our building, in our fellowship hall, we're going to have our general meeting. That's where we have different things like different committees, schools and trails and parks, business relations, library, community garden, which is out there. Go take a tomato on your way home, whatever you need. That's all going to be happening on the 10th at 6 p.m. So again, next Monday, Community Advisory Board at the Sheriff's Office at 7 p.m., Joppa Development and Heritage Corporation General Meeting on the 10th at 6 p.m. We'd love for all of you to join us. I'm going to real quick run through the candidates who should be here tonight. We told people that they didn't have to get here till their appointed time, so hopefully they'll be coming in as we go tonight. Starting out, we're going to have Denise Perry and Stephen Popolo from District A. They're running for school board, and then immediately following them, we're going to have Wade Sewell, whose opponent, who was invited, is not here tonight. We didn't hear back from him, but he'll be presenting his views for his election. And then we're going to have the district councilman races. That's going to be Dion Guthrie and David Woods, both from District A. And then also we're going to have Aaron David Penman, who has already won his election because he did have a primary opponent, but is running unopposed in the general. So we're just going to be hearing from the councilman-elect at that point. And then later on in the night, we'll have candidates for the president of the Harford County Council. That's going to be Winifred or Winnie Roach and Patrick Vincenti. Presuming he gets here, he's running from the airport. And then the Harford County executive candidates, Bob Castley and Blaine H. Miller III, will be here. Just before we get started, if you're here, we are covering both Joppatown and Joppa, so both of them. That's two different districts. For your information, if you live on this side, we're in Joppatown right now, so for those of you online, if you live south of 95 and on this side of Abingdon Road, you're in District A. If you live on the other side of 95 and on this side of Abingdon Road, you're in District B. And if you live on the other side of Abingdon Road from where we are right now, none of these candidates tonight, until we get to the president of the county council or county executive, matter to you. But those two candidates are county-wide. And I think it's good to know all of the candidates who serve on our boards. So with that in mind, do you want to do the run-through of the rules and everything? Sure. All right, I'm going to turn this over to my co-host. This is Ralph Comegna, and he's going to talk about the rules, and I do have a couple things up there if you want.
I need cues. Okay. Well, welcome, everybody. So I just want to run through some of the setup for tonight's discussion and what we've shared with the candidates so that you also have the same information. So number one is it's not a debate and it's not an open forum. All candidates have been provided the 4 questions they will be asked very far in advance to tonight's presentation. So we hope they come prepared and ready to discuss those questions. We also ask that they not provide any rebuttal to a response from their opponent. We really want them to focus on what they plan to do in these 4 areas. And we also have asked them to focus on the future, not the past, because we want to know what's going to change tomorrow and what they're going to bring to the table. Okay? They'll be given a kind of quiet 30-second reminder. Each person gets 2.5 minutes to reply to each question. If they don't need the full 2.5 minutes, they will tell us, I'm done, and we'll just move on. And I think that's about it. You'll hear us maybe go 30 seconds left, but it'll be very quiet in the background and not on the microphone. So other than that, we're ready to start, I think.
So with that in mind, we will welcome our first 2 candidates of the evening for Board of Education District A, Stephen Puopolo and Denise Perry. And by the way, I went through and I flipped a coin for all of these races where we had 2 candidates speaking. So the person who is going first based on the coin that I flipped for question number 1 is Stephen Puopolo.
Can you hear me?
So
Okay.
Stephen, your first question, what are your priorities and plans for classroom curricula?
Well, we need to take a good look at our curriculum and ask ourselves, are we on the right track of preparing our students for graduation or after graduation, or are we doing a disservice by not preparing them for life? One such measure I plan to advocate for is to go to the Maryland State Board of Education and convince them to consider financial literacy as a requirement for graduation. One of the reasons why is because the lack of basic understanding of finances led to American households accumulating heavy debt and inadequate savings. And this is knowledge that our students really should have before finishing high school. And the other thing I plan to do is I want to emphasize how important 2-year programs and certification programs are. 4-year universities are very important, academics very important, but we need enough emphasis on the skilled trades. So I'm hoping to produce a skilled trade initiative where students can learn vocations such as electric, plumbing, HVAC, even carpentry, that allows people to work with their hands and make good money. Construction and public utilities are 2 areas of employment that not only have opportunities to pay, but are also considered recession-proof. And if elected, I plan to put together a groundwork to have a second vocational school in Harford County. There are some obstacles. It is considered one of the most expensive types of schools to build, but it is something that is highly not only wanted but needed. And we also support certification programs that require 2 years or less of training. The heavy demand, especially in nursing, information technology, EMTs, even truck driving. Truck driving is still vital to our economy and requires a short period of on-the-job training and a commercial driver's license. By the time you're 25, you could actually make as much as $50,000 in a year. So there's good money there. So as long as we are meeting the minimum guidelines that's set by the State Board of Education, we should be looking for ways for students to have options for being career ready when they complete high school. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Puopolo. Ms. Perry, same question. What are your priorities and plans for classroom curricula?
Well, Mr. Puopolo spoke about a lot of them already, so I'll just talk about some of the things I proposed. The curricula for school is to educate our students and prepare them for college or a job. Mastery of subjects such as English, language arts, literacy, and mathematics and technology are needed for careers today and in the future. And here in Harford County, we have, right here in our district, we have 2 magnet schools. And they are very, very well prepared and will give our children an opportunity to get a career and even some college credits before they even finish school. So, like I said, I'm in agreement with what Mr. Popolo said and his suggestions about what we need to do. And I'm just adding in those other 2 alternatives that will help our children succeed.
Actually, you're going to be next. If you want to just stay there. So, next question for you. What are your views on Harford County Public School budgetary and spending practices?
I looked at the budgetary part of it, and there was an increase in salaries for our instruction, our teachers and the paraprofessionals, which I know is greatly needed because we need to retain those teachers. It's very difficult now to get teachers to even come into the craft or into the field, and we need to retain the ones that we have, and we need to go out and try to recruit more teachers. Because the education of our children is our most important thing that we need to do for our future. And the increase in salary and wages is one aspect in order to do that. And so the budget did increase that. So I'm hoping that that will draw more people to the craft. And as far as everything else in the budget, to me, there's a lot more funds in there that's going to help our students achieve their goals.
Same question, Stephen. What are your views on the Harford County Public School budgetary and spending practices?
For years, Harford County has consistently ranked in the top 5 of counties in Maryland when it comes to education. Unfortunately, it has consistently ranked near the bottom when it comes to spending per pupil. When we talk about per pupil spending, what comes to the mind of most people is what happens in the classroom. But there's so much more than that. Per pupil spending includes instruction, it also includes transportation, support staff such as nurses, maintenance, and administration. As of 2021, our county was the 8th highest in student population, and we somehow find it acceptable to be ranked 22nd out of 24th in per pupil spending. So we are almost at dead last. Keep in mind that expenditures include the salaries of not only our teachers, who still must purchase their own supplies for the classroom, but it's also for support staff such as paraeducators and inclusion helpers. These educators help students with special needs that need one-on-one assistance, accommodations that teachers with 29 other students in a class do not have the ability to give. The support staff's pay is partial compared to what they enjoy in classrooms, whether it's being yelled and screamed at by their students or even being assaulted. Several years ago, I sat in a Harford County Council meeting where they were discussing the upcoming operating budget for the studio. And I was dismayed by the testimony of a custodian that said they really needed help and they needed full staff. Unfortunately, it just wasn't paying enough. I was really disappointed because when you have a gentleman who cared enough to wait for everybody else to speak and he's a custodian, he says he needs help to keep our schools safe. Unfortunately, it may have fallen on deaf ears. Earlier this year, the Office of the County Executive had proposed the largest property tax cut in Harford County history, and it was also said that we would fully fund education. Somehow, with property taxes being a big bulk of funding, I don't know how we can get the lowest ever and still fully fund. If we are top 5 in education, top 5 in student population, I think we can all agree that we should at least have fair and reasonable spending when it comes to per pupil spending.
Ms. Perry's first on this next question. Ms. Perry, how much access and influence should parents have over their students' education?
I believe parents should be allowed to access the curriculum that their child is being taught. Some or not most of that curriculum is already available on the Harford County Public School website for them to review. I think they should be able to, parents should be allowed to voice their opinions and concerns over their child's education as far as the content and the delivery of the education. But the implementation or creation of policy to address their concerns should be included in the discussions when changes are made. But we have the Board of Education, that they're the ones that would have to decide to make the decision if any of the curriculum is going to be changed. So they would be making the final decision, but it would come from input, because most of the times the meetings allow input from parents or just private citizens when it comes to a certain issue. So all of that will be taken into effect, and the board will make the final decision.
Same question, Stephen. How much access and influence should parents have over their students' education?
Well, first and foremost, it's important to remember that the classroom curriculum is determined by the Maryland State Board of Education within the boundaries of the Code of Regulations. So every school system within Maryland are required to follow certain guidelines as approved by the state or risk financial penalties if they're not meeting the minimum guidelines. So every person really does have the opportunity to speak out or be involved in the process of education. Having said that, I think it's important that we exercise caution when it comes to influencing policies that you might not agree or be comfortable with. One of the topics is sex education. Some parents are not comfortable with their child learning about it in the classroom, and I agree with the notion that you should be, as a parent, teaching your child about it. But I also think as parents, we need to tell ourselves that we might not have all the answers. I have two small boys. I'm not under the delusion that they're always going to be small. I know they're going to grow up and eventually they will come face to face with sex and sexuality. I will have a conversation with them, but I know I won't always have the answer. I believe that we should be teaching our students abstinence, but we should also be teaching them safe sex practices. And it's a conversation that should be open and candid. Another issue that has been mentioned among my discussions with influence is in social studies and history. Some have argued that teaching about events in history dealing with race does not constitute as an effective way of educating students. I can tell you that as a student of history, I find this line of thinking to be dangerous. History is not meant to be comforting. It's meant to be informative. If you're not willing to be uncomfortable when you're learning about things that happened in the past, then you're not going to be comfortable with change. If you really want to be involved in your child's education, join the local PTA. Reach out to your child's teachers and ask them what they need, what you or your child can do to help. Work with other students about doing a group study, and work outside the school environment. There are many opportunities to help shape the lives of students from kindergarten to senior year.
Time. Your final question tonight is, what is another issue that you plan to address if elected, and how would you hope to handle it?
During the pandemic, we lost so many support staff, especially in the area of special education. And last year, the county had to resort to schools borrowing support staff from other schools, not only to help the students, but also to substitute teach. And that's a major problem. One of my first priorities is to hire these support staff back. And one of the ways doing it is we need to increase pay. The starting salary for a paraeducator in Harford County is $25,544. For inclusion helpers, it is $21,228. These are 10-month positions, but this is not even $15 an hour. Keep in mind that these salaries are before taxes and other withholding, and there are currently dozens of these positions open throughout Harford County. The lack of support staff not only hurts the teachers, but also our most vulnerable students that need the help. I also plan to ask Central Office to look into transportation and what can be done to avoid students missing school. One of the bigger issues that people are probably not aware of is there have been times when pre-K students who would go to school half-day could not go to school because they had no transportation in the middle of the day. I can tell you at least 3 times last year, my wife and I had to make the choice. Either we stay home and take our son to school, or, and not only miss the day of pay, but still have to pay for daycare, whether we use it or not, or have our son go to daycare all day and miss school. No parent should have to be forced to make those decisions. Last but not least, I will be vocal about the needs of the students, educators, and parents. Whether it's demanding equitable funding, especially with regards to special education, ensuring a safe environment for all involved in the classroom, or even simply demanding administrators do a better job of listening. My top priority is progress for our students. I'm not running for vanity or money. I'm running because I want our school system to be the envy of other counties and cities throughout Maryland. I want the other school systems to look at us and say, that is what we should be doing. Thank you.
Same question, Ms. Perry. What is another issue that you plan to address if elected, and how would you hope to handle it?
In the current proposed budget, there's a line item that increases funding for magnet schools. We currently have the International Baccalaureate program in Edgewood High School as one of the Harford County magnet schools right here in this district. The program allows students that, the program allows students to earn multiple college credits. I believe that we should expand the program and make some of those slots reserved for students that live in our district. I also propose that the Pathways in Technology Early High School P-TECH program also reserve slots for students in our district, as well as increase funding to expand the program. One of the criteria of the P-TECH program is that the administration is required to reserve at least 50% of the available spaces for students who meet the free and reduced meal income criteria. Harford Community Colleges serves as a college partner. Aberdeen Proving Ground and the Communications Electronics Command is their industry partner. The program provides mentors throughout the P-TECH journey and job readiness internships that will ensure students are ready to enter the workforce upon completion of the P-TECH program. I want to give our students a quality of education that gives them the tools to pursue higher education or the career path that they choose. 6 of the 10 Title I schools are in this district. Title I schools are entitled to government funding for additional services and assistance in instruction. The funding also provides them and gives them the knowledge they will need to pursue their path after graduating from school.
Thank you very much, Denise Perry and Stephen Popolo. We thank you for your attendance here today. Everybody in the audience and online, just hang tight, and we'll be back with District B's candidate for the Board of Education, Wade Sewell, one of the 2. everybody, we're going to get started again here in just a second. Just wanted to remind everybody in the room that all of this is being recorded, so you will be able to get it online afterwards. Also, don't do anything embarrassing in front of the camera. We also would like to just say that Mr. Sewell's here. His opponent was invited but did not respond to our invitation. And we also had made arrangements, or would have made arrangements, to say, hey, if you want to get here early, then we could record, or days early, we could record your responses and play them on the night of the event, and that wasn't taken either. Just for fairness, we did try to get everybody, and as far as we know, everybody else will be here tonight, so we're grateful for that. With that in mind, I'd like to introduce you to Wade Sewell, candidate for school board in District B. Mr. Sewell, what are your priorities and plans for classroom curricula?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me tonight. I have very high expectations for our school system. I think that we should be among the top performing school systems in Maryland, if not the US. So with that, we need a world-class curriculum. So the overarching goals for that would be to have educational experiences that are designed to meet the unique needs of every student. I learned this year, I guess I kind of knew it, but I went to a forum that really drove home the concept that everyone learns differently. So educators are the lifeblood of HCPS, and curricula is the backbone, and that provides the framework. So the North Star program actually provides that framework. It's already in existence. I was a founding member of the North Star Parent Advisory Council. That council, actually the North Star program itself, is focused on improving the likelihood of degree attainment for those who want to go to college. And to do that, it also reduces the cost of degrees, and it reduces the cost of earning career credentials. It also ensures that when students enter the workforce, that they can get a good job after graduating. This is a fairly new program, so it's working its way through the schools. It also increases the variety of paths that students can take, and it creates personalized journeys for the students. The North Star program also provides social and emotional support and real-world experiences. So we need to build on that success. I believe that we need to have more hands-on learning in the classroom. I believe that we need to expand the magnet programs. Currently, there's only 6 of the 10 high schools that offer magnet programs. I think every high school should have that. And I also believe that we need to expand the elementary school curriculum to include things like foreign languages, science, and coding. So I will be a proponent for that. But what is taught in the classroom should always reflect the best knowledge and practice in all subject areas. The curriculum should be transparent and accessible, and I think that parents should also have the ability, the easy ability and respectful ability to opt out for sensitive topics.
All right, thank you.
Next question. What are your views on the Harford County Public School budgetary and spending practices?
Sure. So budget is a very critical issue. I mean, it literally controls everything that we can do in the school system. So my view on fiscal policy overall is that we need to save wherever we can so that we can afford the important things, which is educator pay, first-rate facilities, robust curriculum, and diverse programs and opportunities for our students. So what does that mean? So we need to invest carefully. We need to make sure we're meeting the current needs of our students with a long-term lens for the future. The investments that we make need to be sustainable. What does that mean? When we hire teachers, we need to know that we can afford to keep them on for years to come. And we also need to build buildings right the first time with the right materials and hardy, energy-efficient features. Our budget needs to be accountable and transparent. And HCPS actually already has rigorous policies in place for that. I will make sure that that continues. HCPS, I don't know if you know this or not, but HCPS won national recognition. It was the Certificate of Achievement for Excellence in Financial Reporting which is the highest honors that any school system can achieve. I want to build on that. As a parent and a community volunteer, I became a vocal advocate for our funding back in 2018 when we were going to lose teachers. I researched the school's budget inside and out. I researched the county's budget, and I compared that to all other counties in the state to figure out what we were doing wrong, why we were going to lose teachers. And so I focused on the operational side of the budget to advocate to both our county executive, county council, and then eventually to the state of Maryland to get more funding for our school system. And we've made a lot of headway. The county executive has fully funded our operational budget, which is different than the capital budget. I'll get into that, but for the last 3 years. And also the Blueprint for Maryland was passed, so that has brought a lot of money to our school system. We still have work to do. Our educators need to be paid the same as our competitors in Baltimore and Cecil County, and there's no reason we should lose an educator due to pay to another district. But full circle, we need accountability and transparency.
Thank you. How much access and influence should parents have over their students' education?
So I think it's really important to note that I come to the school board as a parent and a volunteer. I have volunteered extensively for the school system. I've never been an educator in the classroom, although I'm hoping that will change very shortly. I actually applied to become a substitute teacher. I did that because that is the closest I can possibly get to seeing what's happening in our schools today before I'm elected. So I am deeply committed to all the stakeholders in our school system. That's the students, the parents, the educators, and then of course the taxpayers and citizens of Harford County. And I want to build the strongest, healthiest, and most prosperous Harford County that we can possibly have. My family goes back generations in Harford County. I'm a lifer. I've been here my whole life, so I'm very committed. But it's well known that parent involvement in students' education really has a big impact on student outcomes. So I think that every step of the way, we need to encourage that parent involvement in their students' education. Personally, I was a PTA treasurer, I was a club leader, I volunteered for STEM nights, and I started an after-school enrichment program at my children's elementary school. And lots of different classes, had foreign languages, science, even yoga, different classes after school. But I implore parents to get involved in all of those things, and schools need to make it so that it is easy for them to get involved and that they feel welcomed. And I will definitely make sure that that happens. So that is a big challenge. But I believe that there should be transparency and that knowledge is power when it comes to the school system for parents. So there are many committees and councils that parents can get involved in, and I would definitely encourage them to do that. That is a way for parents to have input into the school system, how things are done. There's all kinds of committees, including a curriculum committee. Parents should have full and easy access to the curriculum, to their students' teachers, and to the classroom. I would like to bring back American Education Week. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but there's a whole lot of technology that we can use in order to have parents and grandparents who may live far away to access the classroom, and I hope to leverage that.
Final question. What is another issue that you plan to address if elected, and how would you hope to handle it?
Yeah, so there are a bunch of large issues that I want to address, but capital is a key, so I'm going to focus on that. We are always going to be capital constrained in Harford County Public Schools. There's always going to be more things that we want to spend money on than we can. So we need to make sure, and I said this before, that we are saving money where we can so that we can spend money or invest money on things that are really important. Again, that's educators, that's instructional material, that's buildings. School systems are a very long-term investment. So we need to always look through that long-term lens. We need to build the schools so that they have the least operational costs. And that is a very holistic approach to the entire building envelope. You're talking about simple things like utilities, maintenance, the actual maintenance of the facility, the service life of the materials and the fixtures, and what it costs to maintain that facility from the inside and the outside. So I think all of those things are really important because if we can reduce some costs, we can invest that in other places that really matter. You know, we need to build the schools big enough for the communities they're servicing. I believe in community schools. I think communities should stick together. Right now, Use Benefit was built less than 5 years ago. It's already too small. We have 9 kindergarten classrooms this year. They had to turn the kindergarten teacher planning room into a classroom. They will soon have portables. So how do we do this? We can learn from other schools, other school systems. You know, we're not operating in a vacuum here. Other school systems are facing the exact same challenges. And some are doing better at this than we are. So I think we really need to learn from them. And we need to focus on building net zero buildings if we can. I don't know if any of you have heard of that, but net zero is an amazing thing where you build the building so that there are no utility costs or very little utility costs over time. And there are huge federal and state monies available for that. So we can definitely leverage that and build a better school system that is more affordable to operate. So I really appreciate your time and attention tonight, and I look forward to being your Board of Education representative.
Introduce you to our candidates for Harford County Council in District A, David H. Woods and Dion F. Guthrie. The first question will go to David H. Woods, if you'd like to step up. David, your first question is, what are your educational priorities and plans?
Good evening, everybody. My name is David Woods. I am a council candidate for District 8 for the southern part of the county. My wife and I are...
Sorry, David. I don't think your microphone's on.
No.
Sorry.
Hello. Wow. That's a big difference. I guess you can hear me now. Yeah, I am a long-term Harford County resident. My wife and I moved here several years ago, in 1990, settled in the Edgewood area, and I was in the United States Navy, joined the Postal Service, retired as a postmaster a few years ago, and then when my church asked me to become the executive director at the Epicenter. So I've been doing a number of things over the years, very, very involved in our community. So the question has to do with the education system. What are my education priorities and plans? Well, the three basic things that we always, in our approach to education, was primarily had to do with the curriculum, the content of what our kids need to learn. The goals ought to be, we need to prepare our children for tomorrow. They need to understand how to read, write, and do arithmetic, and need to be able to communicate, need to be able to balance a budget. There are a number of things that our school system needs to do for our children that in some cases they're doing very well at right here. We graduated 3 children from the Harford County school system. And so there's some things that they do extremely well, and there's other things that I think they need help in those areas. Curriculum is one thing, equipping our students for tomorrow. But what we found when my wife and I were, we homeschooled our kids until the 6th and the 4th grade, and then we decided to put them in the school system. Because my feeling is, one of the things that we did was went and interviewed each of the principals before we put our kids in there to make sure that they had what our kids needed. And one of the things that I found that, like Edgewood Elementary School, had a lot of children coming to their school from the various from the community with special needs and special considerations. 30 seconds left. So what that principal did and what the school system did was channel resources from the federal government, from the state government, and equip that school with the kinds of things that they needed to teach those kids. And so there's some unique things in this county, in this area, in Joppa and in Edgewood, that don't exist in other parts of the county. So the priorities have to be to identify what are those needs and fill those needs.
Mr. Guthrie, same question. What are your priorities and plans for classroom, what are your educational priorities and plans?
Okay, as most of you know, I served on the county council for 12 years from 2002 to 2014. Education was a big priority to me when I got in office, and still is. All my children went to school here. We moved here in 1966 in Joppatown. Been in Joppatown for 55 years. I've served on literally every board and commission that you could think of in Harford County. Still serve on several in the county. My priorities when I was in office before, which still apply today, is that we work really hard to get new schools built in our county because they were all overcrowded. And we did that. We built them all over the place. We built a new Blair High School, a new Patterson Mill, a middle school. We put $20 million into Joppatown Elementary School to redo that. We put millions into Joppatown High School. We put turf fields on. We put what they call the Guthrie Walk, because I argued with the Board of Education at the time. We had no access to Joppatown High School for handicapped people, and there was no ramp or no nothing there. I got that ramp put there. And they argued with me, well, you know, they can go around the back door. Oh, I said, like the lady on the bus, the African-American lady on the bus, they wanted to move them to the back of the bus, and we got our ramp. And that's how I got that ramp there. So that's the things you need to know. You need to be able to work with everybody on both sides of the aisle to get the things done for the education process. Okay, we did have, before I left office, we really had something on the books that they were going to replace the high school, Joppatown High School in total, because I worked with David Craig and a few other people to replace all those other schools. Then I left office, and somehow it got on the back burner, and all we're getting a Band-Aid compared to what they did in the other parts of the county, building all the schools over there. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Guthrie. No, you're Dion, you're still. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I know this one's the weird one.
Okay.
Dion, what are your environmental priorities and plans?
Well, living here all these years and being a boater and living on the water, environment is very important to me and very important to a lot of people. I'm on the Rumsey Island Residents Association. I'm on their board. I'm the president of Parkers Point Homeowners Association. And we're very concerned about the water and particularly the problems we've been having. And I'm sure all of you in Joppatown know how brown the water has been, how bad it's been. It's been all that runoff from all the construction that they've got going on, both up, if you take Joppa Farm Road all the way to the end now you can see it's open. They're building more houses back there, and they're building a whole bunch more on 152 and Route 40 in that area. Well, what's happening is when all those rains we had for a while washed all that stuff into all these little rivers and canals that feed the Rumsey Island and Joppatown Basin and turning the water like it is. So we've been working on it. We have our own testing committee, and you're quite aware of that. Our group has because he also serves on the Rumsey Island Residents Association. We test our own water to see if it's good for our kids and grandkids all to swim in, and we find out that in occasion that it's bad because of all this runoff. And it's funny, talking to my wife the other day, because it seems like every night we have 2 or 3 frogs who come in and jump in our swimming pool and stay there overnight. I guess to clean their lungs out. And they're gone in the morning, and they go back into the swamp. So it's very important to me. I testify it. In fact, I just gave him a copy of, and I have more copies for you. I had a 3-page document where I gave testimony to the county council back in 2016 on this very subject. And I was upset with them because the county was not following the permit that they had to clean up these canals, and they haven't done anything today. So if anybody wants a copy of it, I can get it for you. I gave him a copy. He could copy it also. So, okay, thank you.
Mr. Woods, same question. What are your environmental priorities and plans?
Well, it seems to me we need to breathe. We need to breathe air. We need to drink water. We need to enjoy the water. And there's noise concerns as well as land use issues. And we're dealing with a lot of that down here in Edgewood and Joppa with one of my priorities. My priority number one would be, as I'm talking to different residents, as I go around the different parts of the county, but especially here in Edgewood and Joppatown, they're concerned with the amount of traffic that is with tractor trailers that are helping with this construction site over here on 95. And there are the concerns with the dredging and with the enormous amount of water that is being redirected in order for certain projects to take place. So it would seem to me the first thing as a new councilman that I would need to do is get up to speed as far as what are the regulations and are they in compliance with the regulations that already exist? And if they aren't, what is enforceable? What do we need to do in order to get them in compliance with noise pollution or air pollution or the water pollution? And then after that, if they are not in compliance or if the rule or law doesn't exist, then we need to modify the law or change it to make it enforceable, because we're all residents here, homeowners here. We're not planning on leaving, a lot of us, anytime soon, so we want this to be a nice, safe, non-poisonous environment. So the priorities are to continue to be able to breathe, to drink the water, to enjoy this peaceful environment. So one of the things that I would have to do is make sure that we are in compliance with the rules and regulations that exist. And if we need to modify or change the rules or laws in order to accomplish the kind of things that are in the master plan, the kinds of things that developers have already committed to do, we need to make sure that the builders, that the county government is doing an excellent job in so many areas, continue to do that and continue to monitor the environment so that we can continue to enjoy the land use and the air and so on.
Thank you very much, Mr. Woods. Mr. Guthrie.
Back to Dion?
Yep.
I'm back.
Mr. Guthrie, what are your zoning and development priorities and plans?
Well, my plans would be to stay the course of what I did when I was on the council before, to keep a sharp eye on the zoning codes, watch out for people who want to come in and introduce bills to change zoning codes and why they want to change them. I remember when I was on the council, we introduced some bills to change some zoning codes only because it was a proper thing to do. Like on 152, on both sides of the roads, they were they were business related, so we changed those zoning codes. And I remember another one that bothered me a lot. R1 was the zoning code supposed to be for individual homes. Well, if you looked at the zoning code, it didn't really say that, okay? There were times and there were ways you could bend that R1 around a lot and build actual townhomes in R1. So somebody who went in R1, bought a house, and they got an individual home, and all of a sudden across the street, they built a whole row of townhomes. And that happened. Well, I put a bill in and got it passed to change the code, to change the R1 code, to make sure that the only thing that you could build in R1 was single-family homes. Also, we had a lot of problems with builders and all coming in trying to up the codes from R1, R2 to R3 or R4, and what that is, R3 and R4 are all townhomes, and where they're building some now up at the end of Joppa Farm Road because they had the zoning codes to do that. So my priorities would be to watch those zoning codes and keep the people aware of any ideas, anybody trying to slip a bill in or trying to when we do comprehensive rezoning, that's when the stuff really gets up there and it really hits the council. And I've been through a couple of those, so I'm well educated as far as comprehensive rezoning is concerned. Thank you.
Mr. Woods, same question. What are your zoning and development priorities and plans?
Well, again, as a new councilman, I think it's incumbent upon any new councilman to educate his or herself about the existing master plan. And there is one, and Dion's correct. There's comprehensive rezoning that's coming up. And one of the things that I feel has led to my success in a number of different areas has been sitting down and listening to different sides of an argument. There are a lot of existing communities. The Joppa Community Advisory Board right here, a lot of people come together every month with a lot of different ideas. I can't profess to know everything there is to know about Joppa, but there are a lot of people right here in Joppa that know what they want here in this community. There are a lot of people in Edgewood that know what they need, what they want in those communities. So smart, managed growth, listening to builders, listening to what the citizens actually want and need in that area. And if it is not in compliance with what the master plan is, maybe we need to modify the master plan, which is what we're coming up on comprehensive rezoning. So can I sit here right now and say, I think this particular area needs to be zone R1, but no, I can promise you that what I will do is sit down and listen to the multiple sides to every single issue and find out what is the best course of action for that particular development or that particular plot or over the next 5 or 10 years for this community as a whole, and help come to some kind of consensus and then propose a vote on legislation that would benefit this community, if that makes sense. Those would be my priorities.
You want to move on? Okay, stay right there. Mr. Woods, what is another issue that you plan to address if elected, and how would you hope to handle it?
Well, it comes back to what's in the best interest of the community. And from what I feel and what I've seen, and from at least a lot of the people here in the Joppa area want a community center. They want a senior center. There's a number of things that they want to be able to do with it. And it seems to me that it's long overdue for one. So that would be a priority of mine, to figure out a way, a location, a building. My understanding is from a community advisory board meeting a few months ago, the money is there, it's been approved, it's allocated for it. It's just a matter of finding the location and making sure that happens. So that would be a priority, to get a community center, senior center here that this community can use and benefit. And another would be, I think there's a lot of existing property. Some of it the county owns, but there are different things that we could do with the existing property and make mixed-use property. So there are a number of people that advocate for mixed-use property in the old section of Edgewood, down there near the train station. That could be a very thriving area. We could put more businesses on and have housing on the upper level, mixed-use property. I was part of the small area study that one of the an outside consultant came in and said, David, here's a plan that we could use for Edgewood that would develop this area, and a lot of it involved mixed-use property, improve the housing, the amount of quality housing in the area, and attract more business in that area. And we need more businesses in that area. A lot of good things have been happening in District A, but more can continue to improve. When we bring in when Coppermine is coming to develop that area behind Edgewood Elementary School, they're bringing more sports fields in that area. Well, there are 30 more seconds. What we need to do in the Edgewood community and in this area is to foster business growth and development, to take advantage of the influx of people that are coming in to spend money in that county. That'll benefit everybody. Those are some of the things that I would concentrate on when I get elected. Thank you.
Final question, Mr. Guthrie. What is another issue that you plan to address if elected, and how would you hope to handle it?
Hey, Dave stole part of my thunder because when I retired from my full-time job this past January, and I had a lot of people come to me and asked me to run again, so I did, and because there was something I didn't complete, okay, and that was a community center, because we had it all set up that we were going to buy the former swim club, and a lot of you probably might be aware of this whole issue, that we had the price down, we had the price what they were going to accept. They kicked out the contract, the previous contract they had with the pastor of I don't remember, Deckman. I forgot his name. Dickman? Yeah. And he had a contract in on the property, and they kicked it out. And So we went and put a bid in, or supposedly put a bid in, because David Craig said, yeah, he was in favor of it. The whole county council was in favor of it. Billy Boniface was working with me, the president of the council at the time. We had Parks and Rec. Everybody was in tune to buy that property, and that's where we were going to put the community center, except David Craig. But he didn't tell nobody, but what he was after taking that money that we had allotted for that, to buy that, and put the community center there, to buy that property in Havre Grace and expand David Craig Park. That's what happened. So it's been gnawing me for the last 8 years, and I wanted to come back and complete that argument, or to get the community center. I know where we can put it. I've talked to a number of people on the council already. Of course, there's going to be 4 new ones. And I think that we're going to be able to get it with this new council and this new president and the new county executive. I'll be very happy with that. Also, I want to get a bill. I want to talk to everybody on the council about changing the senior citizen law that was passed several years ago to give a tax credit for people over 65 years old who lived here for more than 30 years. But you had to be in one house. I don't think that's fair to the people who bought 3 or 4 houses.
Thank you very much, Mr. Guthrie. And Mr. Woods, we appreciate you both coming. If you will hold on for about 5 more minutes, actually about 3.5 minutes, our next candidate will be actually Councilman-elect Penman from District A for Harford County Council. guys not necessarily listen to each other. With that said, Mr. Penman, you have already secured your seat on the Harford County Council, but we thank you for coming here to share your ideas anyway. We're going to ask you the same 4 questions that we asked everybody else. So first up, what are your educational priorities and plans?
Thank you. My name is Aaron Penman. Obviously, I'm running for the County Council in District B. I'm a husband, father of 4, former U.S. Marine, and current Harford County Deputy Sheriff, at least for the next 2 days, because I'm retiring from the Sheriff's Office come Friday. So thank you for that. Which is bittersweet because I'm ready to serve. I'm ready to serve this next chapter. I'm ready to serve the county in all aspects, and education is one of those. Look, as the county council, we have influence over the budget. We really don't have influence over necessarily the curriculum, but I think the curriculum should be free of personal bias and ideology. So I will support to make sure that is removed from our education if it's there. Look, I may not be an educator, but I think that in my role recently with the Sheriff's Office, I do outreach. So we do education, whether it's on an elementary level, whether it's on a middle school level, whether it's on an adult level, from all aspects, from active shooter to McGruff. Most recently, we've developed programs such as the Pledge Program for the early education for drug awareness for kids. So we partner with the schools, we go into the schools, we give the kids the knowledge, what are drugs, how drugs affect the human body, peer pressure exit strategies, and the ability to resist those peer pressure scenarios, as well as the new core trailer that we just unveiled as well, which is a community outreach effort, which has that next level refortification for those kids that are in middle school and early high school. So education is important to me in the community. It's important to me in the schools as well. I look forward to partnering with the Board of Ed candidates that should be elected to try to serve the kids of our schools and our community for our next generation.
What are your environmental priorities and plans?
So I'm advocate for a careful balance of land preservation and economic growth. Green space is important to me. The Ma and Paul Trail is important to me. I understand the importance and how that attracts people into Harford County, just like the resources that are here. I'm a member of the Planning Advisory Board of the county, so I understand the different complexities of each project that comes in this county, each development project that comes in the county, the considerations, the impact that the county has, the environment has. I also sat on, as a member of the Sheriff's Office, the DAC committee. So I understand the checks and balances, even was discussed earlier, to make sure that if we do have a development project, we need to make sure that erosion is taken care of. We need to make sure that the sediment and erosion is taken care of, like I mentioned. The roads, the highways, the infrastructure is all there to support that economic development. So again, I look forward to supporting green space. I look forward to making sure that we preserve what we all come here for, right? This beautiful landscape of Harford County, we want to keep it that way, but we also have to make sure that we're stimulating our local economy, because we all know what the economic situation is, right? It's going down right now. We need to make sure we have that economic growth as well.
What are your zoning and development priorities and plans?
Comprehensive rezoning is coming up, and it's going to be an issue that it's going to be raised in the community. There's going to be a lot of different projects that come forward that may have been rejected over the years, and it just has to have careful evaluation. And we have to evaluate the impact that it could have, the impact it could have 10 years down the road, and the positive impact that it could have on the community right then. You know, I know nobody wants to develop in their neighborhood, right? Nobody wants to develop into the county, right? But at the same time, people want to come to Harford County, so we got to make sure we have the infrastructure that's there to help them. I also think that we need to incentivize redevelopment. I grew up in Edgewood. I graduated from Edgewood High School in 1995. I understand that Joppa, and I understand that Edgewood really hasn't got the time and attention that is needed, right? So we need to make sure that we have some incentives, tax incentives. We need to have a conversation to redevelop these neighborhoods and these communities that are falling apart. So I look forward to that conversation. I look forward to being a part and advocate for Edgewood and Joppa to redevelop the neighborhoods that are already there.
Final question, what is another issue that you plan to address if elected, and how would you hope to handle it?
Yeah. Look, near and dear to my heart is public safety. I look forward to be an advocate for public safety, to make sure that we have the resources needed for public safety. Without public safety, our communities don't thrive, our education doesn't thrive, our economics don't thrive, so we have to make sure that we pay careful attention to public safety. In addition, I'm supportive of term limits. I want to have that conversation with the other council members to make sure that the county council is not a career. I've had my career in law enforcement. I look forward to serving our community. I look forward to pursuing different positions, whether it's education, environment, or public safety, to have Harford County thrive, but at the same time, bring in new innovative ways through term limits. Yep. That seemed like it was really quick, so. Yeah.
Just so we have a little bit of extra time, so before we all break for the next 5-minute break, we do have, we at the Joppa Development and Heritage Corporation had to make a decision. When we tried to set this up at first, we tried to do this for the primary, and we were going to invite every candidate who would come, and that was like 43 candidates, and we didn't think anybody was going to sit through it. So we decided to punt and come back for the general, and then we had a bunch of candidates, and we decided we had to pare down even further, and we decided to go with the legislative and executive candidates that served Harford County, and then the ones that would be serving us in Annapolis. That meant that we couldn't invite offices like the Register of Wills and the Clerk of the Circuit Court and other important people that will be on the ballot. I'm not going to have anyone come up because we didn't offer the chance for the opposition, but we do have a candidate for Clerk of the Circuit Court, Michelle Krzeski, sorry about that, who's here. So I've read it a bunch, but I've never had to say it out loud. So if you're in the room, you can go talk to her. We're going to get started in about 7:25. So if you need to use the restroom, now's a great time to do that. And thank you all for being here. Thank you, Mr. Penman, for your time. Okay, everybody. So in addition to your local district councilman, you also have the opportunity to vote for the president of the Harford County Council. This is a Harford County-wide race. So anybody who lives in Harford County who's a registered voter, you have the ability to vote in this one. We're no longer talking about the difference between District A and B and all the rest. With that in mind, our two candidates for president of the Harford County Council are Winifred or Winnie Roach and Patrick Vincenti. The first question will go to Winnie Roach, and so if you'd like to step up, we'll get started. Ms. Roach, what are your educational priorities and plans?
Good evening. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the Joppa Heritage Foundation for putting on this forum. It's very important that we have these forums and that voters are able to connect with the candidates. My name is Winnie Roach, and just a little bit about me. I am a mom, a wife. I live in Havre de Grace. I came up here about 20 years ago to start the tourism program in Havre de Grace. So I have a probably a 28 to 30-year career in public service, public policy as a tourism and economic development specialist. I would, in terms of the education and educational priorities as your county council president, I can't emphasize enough the importance of education and what I think it means now in a child's life. I know this after living in Havre de Grace and having a son that goes to a Title I school. He's now 16 and he goes to C. Milton Wright. And I see the difference and the disparity from a Title I school and then a school system like C. Milton Wright. And I know very much that the school system is the catch-all for and the support for families and how important it is that they get the resources that they need. And right now, we are struggling to attract teachers, and one of the first things that I would do is that I would help to create a culture and also a campaign that would attract quality teachers to our county, and then I would deliver on the promise to those educators of competitive pay, smaller classrooms, and educator support personnel. I would also make sure that every school had adequate mental health support and that is maintained as a priority.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Vincenti, same question. What are your educational priorities and plans?
Well, good evening. I want to thank you again for the opportunity to be here this evening. I have the great honor and privilege to serve as your county council president, have for the past almost 4 years now. Education has been a large priority for all of us, my colleagues on the council and the administration. We have fully funded education for the last 3 or 4 years to the tune of about $416 million a year. That's 47 cents of every dollar that comes into the county goes to education in Harford County. We have a close working relationship with the superintendent, trying to advocate for them and everything that they need. The biggest disappointment for us is that we fund the school. It's mandated that we fund the school. But once we write the check, we have no say on where that money goes within the school system. We have no role in the curriculum other than we do advocate for our children, advocate for the parents, just like we did recently with the redistricting process. You know, we support the superintendent, as I said earlier. We support all sorts of programs, including the program that they started to grow our own teachers here in Harford County. It is a struggle to find teachers all across the nation, not just here locally. We advocate for the future capital projects, the current capital projects. We're doing, finishing Joppatown High School right now. It was like $38 million invested there. Planning for the new Campus Hill School in 2026. Homestead Wakefield, William Packer Old Post Road, these are all school projects. They're on the books, and we're working to see them to fruition. So education continues to be our #1 priority.
But you could stay right there, Mr. Vincenti. You can go first. What are
Nice.
your environmental priorities and plans?
You know, I believe Mr. Penman said it perfectly. Harford County is a great place to live. One of the reasons is because of the great open green spaces that we have. Land preservation is a priority for us. Mr. Guthrie talked about water testing and quality. We advocated, he actually came to us with a couple of other folks. I was able to find extra money in the budget to put toward water testing here in Joppatown the last 2 budgets. We will continue to do that. We will continue to focus on stream projects, stream restoration projects here along the Route 40 corridor as we do everywhere else. We recently are working on one at Church Creek Elementary. We just finished one up at Edgewood Elementary School. We did a project down at Mariner Park. We continued to do all these things. So the biggest thing that we also have to remember is that when we talk about environment, almost 2/3 of Harford County is on well and septic. So as the chair of the Board of Health, we work very closely with our health department to make sure that all of our individual wells and septic areas are up to snuff. So, thank you.
Winnie, same question, right? What are your environmental priorities and plans?
Thank you. Well, I think we have seen the result of overdevelopment, and unfortunately what happens, we find out when it's too late. Projects such as 3P and Abingdon Woods, they should not have become cautionary tales, and we don't want them to become cautionary tales about what was lost when we didn't do the right thing when no one was watching. Like Mr. Guthrie mentioned, the upzoning that happens when we're constantly changing zoning codes to allow this in, allow that in. For instance, it's my understanding that Abingdon Woods was once an enterprise zone. And, you know, we should not have had made Abingdon Woods into an enterprise zone. That's how come Abingdon Woods was developed. And so it's very important for our citizens to be engaged in this process at all levels of the planning and zoning process, because the developers are. I would like to actually implement green infrastructure recommendations into policy, such as expanding buffers into critical areas and reforestation requirements. I would like to make sure that the natural areas needing protection are not put into enterprise zones, as was the case I mentioned, and where specimen trees are lost forever. And we will not see them again in our lifetime. I'd like to also see perhaps a state park on the Route 40 corridor area, perhaps in Perryman. I think that would be another excellent way to preserve green space and keep it available for the community to enjoy.
Mr. Vincenti. What are your zoning and development priorities and plans?
So this next council will be charged with the master plan process and comp rezoning. But prior to that, I believe our entire zoning code needs to be looked at. We see all sorts of areas that are zoned and not zoned properly in my mind, and also my colleagues' minds. A lot of the issues that we have before us today that are creating a lot of angst have been zoned for decades, 30 years plus, and they're just now coming to fruition for whatever reason, whether the economy is right, timing is right, but they have been zoned and sitting. The last council, or this council, did not bring those forward. They were brought forward years ago. So I think that the zoning code is a major thing that needs to be looked at, along with the master plan and comp rezoning.
Thank you very much.
All right.
What are your planning, zoning and development priorities?
Okay, well, I will continue to be a champion for small business, which I have been for my entire career. Community revitalization, and of course, the Route 40 corridor if elected county council president. It's very important when we have so many different priorities that we work to achieve a balance. Yes, we have developers. Yes, we have private property rights. We also have community and quality of life issues that we need to balance. And I think it's our job as elected officials to make sure that we strike that balance and that we make changes in the zoning code when it's required, and especially if our citizens are asking for it. We need to improve our zoning appeals process, and I think one of the things we can do, and we need to slow the overdevelopment. And one of the ways we can do that is by putting in some environmental policies that do have teeth, that aren't just recommendations. And I would like to see that we push redevelopment to the Route 40 corridor. And I say redevelopment because it's far too easy to take a farm or a forest and develop it, as opposed to taking a piece of property and redeveloping it in an area that already has the infrastructure to support that project. And that would be the case with the Route 40 corridor. And that's pretty much, you know, in terms of my priorities and plans, you know. That's, you know, and like I said, the green infrastructure, I want to make sure that we are actually pulling that plan off the shelf and putting it into action, and not just using it for ribbon cuttings and so forth.
Thank you very much. And then say right, no.
Oh, that's right.
Nobody ever listens to me in this
I'm
building.
sorry.
All right. What is another issue that you plan to address if elected, and how would you hope to handle it?
Okay. Well, an issue that has become very near and dear to my heart has to do with the delivery of human services and housing here in Harford County. As I have mentioned, the really first part of my career has been in economic development and tourism, and now my economic development focus is people, particularly women, and trying to help them find housing in this county. We have 6 beds in our homeless shelter for women. It is outrageous, and I have a list of women that currently have nowhere to go, and our nonprofits are out of funds. I believe this entire system of delivery of human services needs to be restructured. Now, what I would do, I would use the health department as a point of entry, because we have a lot of silos. We have people that don't know how to access our support services. They don't know how to access the health care they need. They don't know how to access the mental health care they need. They certainly don't know how to find housing or emergency housing. We have no emergency housing. And there's also housing on other levels that we need, not just that type of housing that actually helps people get up onto their feet and into the economic arena. In my opinion, that is the most important thing we can do. I mean, here we are at a county with a AAA bond rating, and we have this many homeless people. We have families living in cars. No. So as your county council president, I will make sure that no one gets left behind in this county. that everyone has an equal voice at the table, no matter what side of the Route 40 corridor they live on. Thank you.
What is another issue that you plan to address if elected, and how would you hope to handle it?
About 5 years ago, we brought together a group to study and talk about redevelopment and revitalization of Route 40 corridor. We've been very successful with those meetings. We have probably 2 a year. We bring as many as 65 of our property owners, stakeholders, business owners, state highways, education, Aberdeen Proving Ground, the generals. We bring them all into that meeting so that we can all sit down and discuss some of the achievements and accomplishments that we make individually, and then try to work on some together as a group. You know, I always say when we started this group and we started this work that none of us have a silver bullet to make Route 40 the way we want it. It is the gateway coming from both Baltimore County and Cecil County. It is a vital part of what makes Harford County a great success. A great, healthy Route 40 is best for Harford County. And all of our business owners and stakeholders, when they come, they all agree. And again, we're trying to create a venue where all these individual partners can come and feed off of each other's successes and build. Coppermine is a product of that. The Leading Edge is a part of that. Harvard Community College on Route 40 is a part of that. More bus shelters coming is a part of that. They're all things that, and development homes, these are all things that people on the Route 40 corridor are asking for and need, as well as businesses and revitalizing the businesses that are there. But one of the most important things that I believe we need to do if I'm successful in moving forward is I want to bring in a legislative drafter back to the council. It's been 8 years since one was there, and I think that's an important part of what we need moving forward. I've talked to the incoming administration. If they're successful, they understand, they agree, and we're looking forward to moving forward with that. So thank you. And thank you for the opportunity.
Ms. Roach, Mr. Vincenti, thank you for coming and spending your time with us tonight. We're going to take one more 5-minute break, and then we will move on to the Harford County Executive Race with Blaine H. Miller III and Bob Castley. ready. Sorry for that brief delay. If you're online, our computer restarted again. I don't know, that happened in the last one too, but I think we're back, and I'm just going to check my phone to see if I can see myself. Oh, yep, okay. Well, one other technical glitch happened. It appears that we only have one candidate here tonight for county executive. I did talk to Mr. Miller yesterday, and he assured me that he was coming, but we haven't seen him yet. So with that in mind, I will invite Bob Castley up, and we'll just ask him all 4 questions. And we'll just have a couple announcements right at the end, but thank you all for your attendance tonight. We'll wrap this up right after this. All right, with that in mind, Mr. Castley, thank you for your attendance here tonight. And this is again for the Harford County Executive race. Your first question is, what are your educational priorities and plans?
Sure. Well, first of all, good evening, everybody. Thanks for inviting, and it's good to be here. Initially, my initial goal with education is to work closely with the Board of Education. We've got to work together, right? We've got to collaborate and work. Years ago, when the board wanted to relocate the Board of Education headquarters from the town of Bel Air out along 95, I pushed back and said, my gosh, we don't talk enough as it is. If you move out there, the government will never talk, the county government and the board will never talk. Stay in the town, at least we'll see you for lunch, right, in the restaurants. So I was pleased on that front. But I think right now in the county, what we really need to focus on is the trades. We unfortunately, years ago, and a lot of us said, and probably a lot of you in this room said, what are you doing? We need the trades. And now everybody's going to go to college. So not surprisingly, folks now see the challenges in that. So we've got to get back. We've got a lot of trade stuff at Harford Tech. The problem is there's one Harford Tech, and it's pretty far from Edgewood and Joppatown, and that's not good. So we've got to look at, and we're doing some stuff over here, we've got some training going, but we really need to ramp that up. We need to make sure that the kids who want to go into the trades have an opportunity to expose themselves to the trades. Businesses need to know that the kids they're getting have the skills, the basic skills. It's expensive for a business to say, sure, I'll try you as a carpenter, I'll try you as a plumber, as an electrician. I mean, now they have to bring you on and train you up, and after 6 months and spending a lot of money, they realize, you're the worst electrician I go, you're a failure. I need to know coming in that you have an aptitude for being an electrician or a plumber or a body repair person. So we're going to have to get the kids in that while they're in school. Let these folks know that, yeah, this person meets the requirements. Let them come. And that oftentimes requires that we provide them with work-study programs so they can go into with the employers and they can try them out for a month or two and see if that's somebody that's going to fit with their business. So we've really got to focus on the trades and make sure that any kid that wants to go into the trades, because the market is there, the jobs are there, you can make a really good living, so we want to provide folks with that opportunity. Generally, on a broader sphere, we've got... We're up on time? Okay, let's move on. Good.
What are your environmental priorities and plans?
Sure. So I think, again, sort of in a broader perspective, we've got Harford has a green energy plan, but you really wouldn't know it because we just kind of put it in. It's there, but like too many government plans, it sits in a book. But we've done some good stuff. I helped to purchase the Stony Forest demonstration forest when we more than doubled the size of the Stony Forest, which is just not too far from here, right? It's just the other side of 40. We purchased the Oakington Peninsula, the 2 properties in Oakington Peninsula. I know Harford Land Trust, who works closely with the county, has purchased another nice property along with Isaac Walton League down there across from Edgewood High School. But we've got so much bay in and around here, and people need to have access to it. We got to make sure that every piece of the bay that the kids can have access to, that we do that. The properties out along, there's some great preservation out along Willoughby Beach Road. That's great stuff. But we've got to make sure that people can see that. Oftentimes, people in Edgewood have no idea that 50 yards over this way is actually Chesapeake Bay. And we're going to take advantage of it. We're going to educate people, let them know that the bay is here, and we've got some nice accesses to it. But I think the main thing that you'll see from me on the environment is But I will look at the green energy plan, I'm sorry, the green infrastructure plan, and I will follow it. I do respect the environment. I think it's very important, especially where you've got it, we're so close to the Chesapeake Bay, and work with the community. I pretty much most years will go down to the Outer Point Park for the wade in and take my grandchildren down there, and what a great facility. But we've got to beef all these up. We've got to put the money into the parks and let people appreciate what the environment is, because it's up to, the environment thing we have to all do for most of the part individually. So we've got to educate the kids and let them know it's there. Okay?
What are your zoning and development priorities?
Sure. Look, one of the biggest things that has brought me this far in politics is that people have lost confidence. They lost confidence in the process. They felt that so many people I talked to felt like they were misled. They felt like in the development process they weren't getting straight up. They didn't find out about issues until the bulldozers were running. They didn't find out about meetings until the meeting was done. The meetings were truncated. They felt like they weren't getting straight answers. So in my administration, we will be transparent. When you have issues, we will listen to you. Everyone's voices are going to be heard, not just the development community. We will have a very transparent, open, and integrity is going to be our hallmark. So when you ask a question of the Planning and Zoning Department, you're not going to get double talk. You're going to get straight answers. You're going to be dealt with straight up. Getting straight up answers doesn't mean that you have to pay money for that. Doesn't mean you have to pay campaign contributions. Doesn't mean you have to be a developer. It means you're a citizen of Harford County and you'll get straight up answers. With regard to Route 40, we've got a lot of development potential out here. We're doing some good stuff. I love, you look what we've done out at Water's Edge. What a great start that is. But we've got to build on that. We need to really capture that all along the Route 40 corridor. I'm not saying develop the entire Route 40 corridor. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that there's a lot of great opportunities to improve the quality of life along the Route 40 corridor by bringing in great businesses, good housing, and the like. So we've got to look at what we've got. We've got to work with the community. It's got to be community focused. Your input, it's your community. You need to have a front seat at the table on what we're doing. So it's got to be a community-driven development process that's open and honest, that builds a great community. Okay?
What is another issue that you plan to address if elected, and how would you hope to handle it?
Sure. We've got to all come together. I go to the north end, and sometimes I talk about where there's the southern end. And I talk to the southern end, and they say, well, there's the north end. We're one Harford County. We don't have pieces that are expendable. It's one Harford County. And I'm going to work for the next 4 years, do everything I can to make sure that our county works together. We're going to be collaborative. We want. I was in Edgewood High School about 2 years ago, and this young woman was a student, and I said, and I like to talk to the students and ask them how their community is. Like, hey, they'll be straight up with you. Is there crime? Can you walk here safely? They're great. And I said, so now where do you live? And she said, North Harford. North Harford? I said, yeah, I live in North Harford. I said, oh, you're here for she was here for the magnet program. So how do you like it in Edgewood? I love it. And we got to talking, and her friends from Edgewood loved to come up and visit her up on the farms in North Harford and vice versa. And it was just great to hear, and they learned so much about each other, and they realized they do like each other, and she liked very much her Edgewood High School experience. So we've got to come together as one county, and that means working together through our programs like this, but through our churches, through our Parks and Rec programs, through the government, everything we can, because the problems that we have are going to require resources, and we've got to bring them to bear. People for many years kept talking about trying to incorporate Edgewood, incorporate Joppatown. That's expensive, but the piece of that we can copy is Havre de Grace has a public works department. So does Aberdeen. We don't have a dedicated public works department over here. That's essential because of the number of folks living here, the compact population. You can't do without a focused public works department. And sure, up in the north end, public works you come around every once in a while, but in the urban areas, the streets got to be swept. The grass has to be cut. Long grass way up on the other end of 136, you wouldn't even notice it. Long grass on Edgewood Road, it ruins your community. It's unpleasant, it's unsightly, and it detracts from the beauty of the community. So we've got to focus on this area with a dedicated public works crew that treats this part of our county the same as we treat Bel Air and Edgewood and Aberdeen, who have dedicated public works resources. So I would like to work with the county government, with the county council, make sure that we have our own dedicated public works folks down here to put the street sweepers in, to make sure if it's open space, it gets mowed and the like. Just as, I mean, you go into these municipalities and the care they take to make sure that things are mowed. And if it's state highway and it's not mowed, the town of Bel Air is mowing it. City of Havre de Grace is mowing it. City of Aberdeen is mowing it. There is no excuse, okay? I got it. We're not supposed to mow what you are, but you're not mowing it, so we are. So we've got to provide that extra level of attention because we want to be proud of every piece of this county, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to work together and make sure our entire county is beautiful and attractive and encourages people to step up and volunteer and want to do stuff. So, all right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming. I'd like to thank everybody who came out tonight. Candidates, thank you for giving your time. Thank you for helping us to listen to your ideas. We are looking forward to working with those candidates who win. We're also looking forward to working with the candidates who lose. But I have one more thing to say. It's very important to me that if you are not a candidate and you just came to listen tonight, or if you're watching online and you're listening, you have to understand that these guys work for us. If they don't hear from us, that's our fault. If we don't hold these people accountable, if we don't work with them, if we don't give them ideas, if we just let them govern in Bel Air or Annapolis or whatever and just let them off the hook, we have only ourselves to blame. I'm grateful for all of you who came out. I'm grateful for all of you who participate in the process. Please tell your neighbors to vote in the election in November. If you have any questions about the Job Development and Heritage Corporation or the Community Advisory Board, please feel free to reach out to me. And as the president of the Joppa Development and Heritage Corporation, I want to give a special thank you also to Joppatown Christian Church for letting us be here tonight and giving us all this technology. Here, your preacher is phenomenal. With that said, I want to thank you all for coming out tonight, and please have a safe night home, have a safe trip home. Thank you, and we'll hope to see you soon.